Ben Shapiro's presence is a terror. Organizers of a podcast conference in Dallas, Texas, drew backlash Thursday after they took responsibility for harm caused by the Daily Wire podcast host Ben Shapiro's presence at the conference. Podcast Movement, a major annual conference for the podcast industry, issued a profuse apology on Thursday after attendees complained that Shapiro was spotted at the event near the Daily Wire booth. Remember that Ben Shapiro is one of the two founders of the Daily Wire. Daily Wire sponsored this year's conference, and Shapiro, host of the massively successful The Ben Shapiro Show podcast, was seen pictured walking around the expo arena. Did you see the first tweet that someone responded? As a trans person, as a queer person, as someone with a uterus, this does not make me feel welcome. This does not make me feel safe. One of the conference attendees posted on Twitter after sharing a picture of Shapiro standing by the Daily Wire booth. Does Ben Shapiro make you feel, you know Ben, like quick speaking, little hat, him. Yeah. Does he make you feel unsafe?
We have to get beyond this unsafe nonsense. We have to stop taking it seriously when anyone says it. It's the go-to thing, isn't it? Ben Shapiro is not a threat to anyone. He's just maybe has a different opinion than you. Like, it's so childish. But it's happening all the time. This phrase unsafe, it's been used against me, of course. I've had the same thing. I lost a job because someone claimed that my presence made them unsafe because of a joke I'd told. This sort of thing happens all the time. When Jerry Sadowitz, the Scottish comedian, he had his show pulled at the Edinburgh Fringe last week, and the venue said that his material was making people feel unsafe. So even now, comedy promoters are claiming that words are violence. It's something you and I have discussed before. It's something that we've been warning about for a long time. But look, we just need to start laughing in people's faces when they say this stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous. Words are not hurting you. If you're offended, then that's fair enough. Everyone gets offended from time to time. That's being human. But you're not physically harmed.
The groveling apology from Podcast Movement said, "Hi folks, we owe you an apology before sessions kick off for the day. Yesterday afternoon, Ben Shapiro briefly visited the PM22 Expo area near the Daily Wire booth. Though he was not registered or expected, we take full responsibility for the harm done by his presence. There's no way around it. We agreed to sell the Daily Wire at a first-time booth based on the company's large presence in podcasting." Let's not forget that they've got probably 2 or 3 of the top 10 podcasts in the world at any one time. Matt Walsh will be up there. Ben Shapiro will be up there. The Morning Wire is unbelievably huge. It's this 15-minute thing that's now making movies and blah, blah, blah. The weight of that decision is now painfully clear. Shapiro is a co-founder. A drop-in, however unlikely, should have been considered a possibility. Those of you who call this unacceptable are right. In 9 wonderful years growing and celebrating this medium, PM has made mistakes. The pain caused by this one will always stick with us. We promise that sponsors will be more carefully considered moving forward.
The pain. It was a brief visit, right? He said Ben Shapiro briefly visited. If that's all it takes to reduce you to conniptions, then you really need to see a doctor about that, because I don't know what to do about this sort of stuff. I've been railing against it. Well, I've written a book now about it. I think we need to stop tolerating it. I think we need to laugh it out of existence.
I think that there is a very real place for ridicule to be used here as one of the most important pushback mechanisms, because the game that's being played a lot of the time is this sort of faux intellectual, lexical overload, semantic game, Brazilian jiu-jitsu fuckery that's going on. And trying to engage with it on a serious level kind of legitimates the position that the other side has. Whereas if you see what happened with PC and then with the word woke, how quickly it became, you can't use the word woke unironically anymore. It's not a serious term. And the reason that happened is because people like yourself and other comedians and online commentators very quickly made it a caricature of itself. And you can try and mandate something or, logically reduce it down so that people don't want to be associated with it. But if you just make it so uncool and socially toxic to be associated with that no one wants to use it anymore, that's it, dead in the water.
Yeah, well, I've tried that. I've done a lot of the comedy stuff and the satire stuff, and I've written 2 satirical books mocking this thing. My new book is not that. My new book is trying to get to grips with it. However, what I would say in my defense there is I get what you're saying about, you can't really reason. But the new book I've written isn't aimed at the woke. It is about the woke. And it's therefore an attempt to, because most of the people who think that they support the woke movement, or whatever we want to call them, the critical social justice movement, whatever, they don't really fully grasp what they're about. And so this is a book where we talk through where I try and explain what it is that their objectives are, how really the culture war is a battle over language and who gets to define language. I mean, you've raised it yourself there. Political correctness, woke. I've got a whole section of the book about the evolution of the word woke and how it was a form of self-identification for activists at one point. And then because people like me started using the word to describe them, sometimes in a mocking way, they then started to pretend that it was a right-wing term that people like me had invented as an insult, which isn't true because, we can check that on Google. Just go back. People used to self-identify as woke all the time. I've got screenshots of loads of Guardian articles talking unironically about being woke. So that's not true. So, but that's what they do, is that because this is a culture war about language, these people who I call the new Puritans in my book continually redefine language, and then they will tell you that they haven't done so. So you're using words that you always used to use, but now they're telling you they mean something different. So you used to think the word racism meant prejudice or hate against someone due to the color of their skin. And now you're told, no, it doesn't mean that. It means an equation, prejudice plus power, and it's to do with power structures in society, and therefore white people, non-white people can't be racist, and et cetera, et cetera. And you're told, no, the definition's changed now. Even though no one really uses it in this way, we're telling you it's done this way now.
What's happening, people? If you enjoyed that, then press here for the full, unedited episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.